Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome to this call that I'm excited about, that I think a lot of people will find a lot of value from. And tonight we have three presenters, three women that come with an incredible reservoir of expertise, with huge hearts along with it. So I'm excited about people really getting some of the nuts and bolts. You know, this was really kind of one of my inspirations about doing these calls and showing up, is that we've got so many talented people in our field as distributors. And there's some really gold nuggets that can help propel all of us forward. And it comes down sometimes to just what are those nuts and bolts and how to apply them. So the three women who have graciously agreed to be here tonight at our invitation have a lot of that information in a way that's very doable and very much from this intention of helping people to help other people. So I'd like to go ahead and we'll just jump in. There is, as I said, the three presenters. We've got Mary Duffy, we've got Harlequin Murray, and we've got Beth Brenner Jaeger. And I'd like to start with Mary. And Mary, there's so much as an international life coach, as all of your years of really helping people see their direction in life and becoming successful. I mean, your skill set just goes on and on. And what I would love is for us tonight to really focus on this brilliance that I've noticed from you in just starting the conversation with strangers. In the context, I mean, what we're talking about tonight is setting up expos, doing booths, really having these public displays. So it's not where there's been any relationship before. This is about being out in the public and being willing to share that message. So I'm just going to open it up, Mary, and ask you, what is the secret? How do you get these conversations started? What is it that you know makes it successful and makes it fun?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to come and share with you this evening. It is my privilege, and I look very, very much forward to sharing the information. But the first, I feel like that is the key to everything, is really to observe. Is really to watch your surroundings, to look at the people as they're approaching you, look at who they're with, and see that energy, because as you do that, it will allow you to get into rapport with the person. It'll allow you to get into more action with the person. The more you look at them, and as you invite them into your space. This past weekend, people would be coming by the booth and taking a look, and I'd look at them and I'd pay attention to what they were doing. And sometimes all I would say is, come on into the house. It's very simple. Come on into the house. As they were looking, and then the next thing they were saying, is that your picture? Is that really you? And that opened up the conversation for me to know then where to go with it, whether it was about the stem cells or whether it was about the emulant or about which direction to go with the product. It opened up the conversation. And then I would ask them questions. That's very important too. Ask them the question of, how are you today? What brings you in, or something, to get a feel for who they be and what's going on with that individual. Sometimes you want to know, if you'll ask them about their health, and all of a sudden they're just telling you their life story, it's important that you listen, then you listen a little bit more, and then you listen a little bit more, and gather as much information as you possibly can during that time frame. The more information you can gather, the more you can work with that.
Right. So I have a question for you, Mary, because you're really speaking from this level of expertise where you really know. It's about observing, listening. So what is it that you do before you're there in the public that you're able to be where you're open, where you're clear, to be observing, listening, and make the questions all about them? Because if we've got our own kind of dialogue going on, if we're not, things aren't right, or we're insecure, or da-da-da, this is something obviously you've been doing and are so good at that you don't even think about it. It's an unconscious competency. So I know I'm asking you something that you haven't really, put it out in 1, 2, 3 steps, but I'm curious, do you do anything internally so that you're ready to be clear and ask them questions and invite them in and just be at that place that is a connecting vibration? I mean, you're talking about energy. Let's talk about energy, right?
I get into the moment. I leave whatever I have going on at home. I leave it, if I had a problem on the freeway going to the event, I leave it on the freeway. It's about really becoming very present, very aware of where you're at that point in time. It's being there. It's not being somewhere else. It's being grounded in that moment to become fully aware of who you are, where you are, and your full surroundings. It's like I go into my intuitive side. Some people call it their creative side. You call it whatever. You go into that space of just being. Mm-hmm. And when you go into that space of just being, that's when you can connect to all of your surroundings. So it's about opening up to your surroundings. It's about being fully present in that moment.
Right. So this presence, then, what I'm hearing, you go into then questions about them.
Right.
You give examples of questions that you would suggest.
Oh, if they have children, ask them about their children. Mm-hmm. If they have health issues, ask them to expand about them on their health issues. Ask them if they're open to alternative ways of healing. Some people aren't. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Some people are just going to close you down the minute you mention alternative. And if they do, you kind of understand that. You wish them well and you let them go on. You don't keep hounding it. You just kind of move through it and past it. Because if you don't do that, then what happens is you just keep beating it and beating it and beating it and beating it. You can't get it. And then you ask them what they're involved in. You ask them what their likes are. You ask them what they're into. And if they're into wellness or if they're into anything of that nature, as it relates to Emulan, if it was another thing. I mean, it's just really just getting to know someone.
So is that how you ask the question? Like, what are you into? Or do you say something like, do you care about, I mean, is your health a priority? Or I guess what I'm now kind of digging a little bit for are the actual verbiage of the questions that you might ask somebody.
Well, one of the things I ask are if it is pertaining to like, let's just say we're wanting to recruit someone. I would ask them, are they interested in making more money? Are they interested in having a part-time job? Or maybe I would ask them, are they a stay-at-home mom? It just depends on what the situation is at that current point in time, because it really is to do with whom you're talking to. You feel into what they're wanting to discuss with you. If it's about recruiting, you ask them, are they interested in alternative stay at home or a work from home business? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. They say yes, you expand and find out if they would be interested in doing something of this type. Or somebody will come up to me and say, oh, I'm looking to open my own business. I'd be like, well, what type of business you're looking to have? And they would be like, oh, I'm going to open up a gym. And I'd be like, oh, really? And I would ask them, and I would get them going on that. And I would be like, well, have you ever considered this? Or have you ever thought about this? And
so when does that segue happen? So you're asking questions about their interest in the business, what they're wanting to do, and then how does it segue back to Galen, the products?
For me, it's almost a natural process.
Right, and I understand that's why I'm asking you, because you are the expert with this natural process.
It's more of a natural process. It's just as the conversation flows, you can kind of wander it back around. And as you get into rapport with the person, there's a fabulous book out there called Instant Rapport by Michael Brooks.
Okay.
I would recommend everyone to read that book. It talks about how to mirror the person. Maybe I'm mirroring that person.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I may be looking at their eyes and seeing if they're visual, and if they are, I'm going to talk to them in pictures. If they're kinesthetic, I'm going to talk to them from their feeling center. If they're digital, I'm going to talk with them with words. So it will vary as to how I segregate it back. I may take them back into a picture. Well, have you ever saw yourself as being thinner? Or have you ever saw yourself as being happier?
Well, that's quite a provocative question for.
Well, of course, because if they're talking to you about weight loss, you got to see if they can actually go there. Right. You have to see if they can actually visualize themselves being there. They may talk about it all day long, but if they can't see it, be it, or feel it, they can't have it. You've got to go into being that energy. You've got to go into seeing that energy and just imagining yourself there. It's like every one of us on this call has imagined ourselves being at the top of the rung, being Crown Royal. If you haven't, then it's time to get there, okay? You got to imagine. But our first step in this is to become Ruby. And how do we become Ruby? Is we go out and we mingle with people and we work and we see how to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's back in the old days, it was knee to knee. Today it's on social media. We're not doing knee to knee. So there's a need for more of talking. There's a need for more of almost a rapport.
Yeah.
To get into that energy to pull that person through the computer now.
Pull them through the computer. That's a good phrase. I like that.
Well, you got to pull the energy. It's about pulling that person into your conversation. Without that, you can't do that.
And so you're asking questions about them. You're saying you have this understanding of pulling energy, pulling them into the house, as you gave the example of the expo you were in this past weekend, through the computer.
Yeah. You invite the person and invite them in. It's about asking the questions. It really is about inviting them.
So it's from kind of an open heart, in my opinion, is how I invite. Yeah.
And if you're not inviting and you're not open and you've got problems and you got your shields up, everybody's going to keep walking by. It's when you drop and you become vulnerable, you become the space that people feel safe to talk with you about their problems.
So that's really the diamond you have to share, right? That it is this practice of already being the invitation,
right?
Energy, not keeping your own life dramas, whatever going on, but to be this open place, presence, where the questions come from what you're noticing about that person.
Right. 100%. It may be, how many times have you pulled someone into a conversation with, where'd you get that dress? I mean, it's about, where did you get it? It's about the invitation. It's about being.
See, this is what I love about you. I mean, you just like, it's like, this is just real. It's like, this is just how it is, right? It's like,
It's simple.
Just be there and do it and let it be spontaneous and natural. Yeah.
And if people can pick up on it when you're being fake, as long as you're being you.
Yeah.
And you're truly you, and you're vulnerable in that moment, you can pull those people to you. You can invite them into your world, and they will become sometimes your best friend. The one that you least expect sometimes becomes that person that will work with you, that will take you to the top when you least expect it. Because they know that you're there to be there with them. You have to be real. If you're fake with a person, they're going to walk out the door every single time.
Well, I really like that, and I do want to move into our other speakers so that there's also time at the end for people to ask questions of you, so that I'm not the only one asking these questions. But I really like that, what your last point there of be real and be willing to be vulnerable. That's what I heard you say.
Yes.
And that with this understanding that they might be the person that you do have this long-standing friendship that starts to develop, that is what helps you grow to our triple crown diamond status.
If they're not, there may be the person that will lead you to that person.
Right. Yes, right? So now it's that whole understanding that Costa also talks about. This is what it's like, this is how we do it, right?
Right.
We show up as ourselves and we're present with this, are you going to be the one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you go with that with that energy or that intention of, well, this could be the one. And if it's not, well, we'll sell them a bottle and go on down the road.
That's right. And you will. I know that. You will sell them at least one bottle. Okay. That's beautiful. Thank you, Mary. And again, I want to invite people to write their questions in for you so we can come back. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So let's move on to Harlequin Murray, who also comes from Georgia, is in Georgia. It's the same state as you are, Mary. And Harlequin, when I first said, Harlequin, what can I be telling people about you? I mean, just what comes out of her immediately is her passion to always be helping people. And it's not just a passion, but it's this willingness to keep getting her skill sets, keep being willing. I mean, these, all these years of being both a blood, I have to read it here, blood donor recruiter, and then having her own products that she created and bringing them to the public and selling them, and always meeting her quotas for all these years. But then here's the thing about Harlequin. She was in Amway 25 years ago, and she was in a position where they had her present in the full stadium, right, with those thousands of people listening. So there's a lot that Harlequin brings as far as understanding what it takes to set up things. And in the from the very beginning to really growing a huge team. So Harlequin, I'd love for you to come on so we can begin hearing from you.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we
Awesome.
can. We can hear you. We can see you. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I truly, it's an honor to be asked. But no, as you said, I was in Amway years ago and that's where I really learned how to talk to people, because they had a plan where you started with small, one-on-one, building up to speaking to a Coliseum of 10,000. So, and I actually got excited about doing that. So initially, not so much, but by the time I made it to that point, but no, I have been doing events for.
But I just want to stop you for that 1 minute, because that's such a valuable point that I really want people to hear. Because what you just said, well, how I heard it, is that your nature was not at first to be seeing yourself in front of 10,000 people presenting, but that because you are willing to do the steps, to get the training, to do the practice, to let it build on a foundation, right? This is what is so key about what you have to offer. But the point I want to make is you let yourself become the kind of person that could then present to 10,000 people. You didn't start out that way, but you let yourself evolve. And that's, I just so appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, what it is, I used to be super shy, did not want to talk to.
I believe you, but it's not how I know you.
I know, yeah. But no, I started off small, and just in general, you can start off, some people, they don't feel comfortable setting up at a booth somewhere. It just scares them to death to have to be that vulnerable and talking to that many people. But the way I started out is, and this you can use for recruiting for anything, but I started out, if you're in line at the grocery store, turn around and talk to the person behind you. They can't run away. They're kind of stuck. And it can just be something as simple as saying, hey, how are you doing? And, oh, how's the weather? They always talk about, they always taught us, family, occupation, recreation, message. If their kids are there, oh, hey, how old are your kids? What type of work do you do? What do you like to do for fun? And you have to choose one of those based on your setting. And, once you develop a rapport, you go to your message, hey, I'm actually looking for some stay-at-home moms that would like to earn an extra income. Or if they mention that they hate their job, well, are you open to making money in a different way? Or, if they like to travel, well, we have the opportunity. We can travel to anywhere in the US, Canada, Australia, Malaysia, Philippines, and we can build our business wherever we want.
Right.
It gives us an opportunity to travel and earn an income. You were going to say something. Go ahead.
Well, what you know so well is about starting off small, like you're saying. Start with this casual, just extending yourself with who's around you. And then you have networked for many years in larger and larger communities. So what I was going to ask is that, because you really understand this foundation of you got to start small as far as being comfortable with just starting up a casual conversation.
Right.
Now you're talking about, you segue right into, well, asking them, or letting them know you are looking for stay-at-home mothers, people that want to look at building an extra income.
Mm-hmm.
Two questions come to my mind. Again, that segue, how you know when it's right to go there, and then where you've gone from there as far as these other ways of networking and community.
Okay. A lot of times, well, and one of the other things is if you notice that they have some sort of a physical challenge, shall we say, you can talk about product as well. But, if somebody is sitting there saying, I hate my job, it's like, you know what? I wasn't happy with mine either. And this is what, so I feel where you're coming from. And this is what I found. I found this amazing organization where I can make phenomenal money. And like Mary said, it kind of depends upon the situation. Sometimes they will say something that kind of opens up the door. Or you can lead them in that direction. It's like, oh, well, you're at home right now, you have a newborn baby. Are you going back to work soon? Do you really want to do that? Or would you rather be able to stay home?
Right. So I'm imagining being in the post office line, and I mean, that's such a great flow, right? You're saying, well, are you going to go back to work? And they're saying, I mean, of course, most mothers want to be with their children, not go right back to work. But what's the graceful way to then, because I'm in the post office line, and I'm going to go to the checker pretty soon. How do you bring that into getting their contact information?
Well, when you're in line, you don't have very much time. Right. And that you're kind of catching them totally off guard.
Yeah.
So have your business card ready. I always carry 3x5 cards in my purse. And I'll say, hey, I'd love to talk to you more about this. Here's my card. I've got an informational page on there, which is my jot form page. And, my ordering page. If we've talked about the product, if I notice they're limping or something, hey, you've got arthritis or whatever. But that way I go and say, well, here's my contact information. Would you be willing to give me your information, and I'll send you some additional, I'll send you my Ditto Touch or whatever to them. And that way I'm giving them my contact information and getting theirs.
Okay.
A lot of times people are willing.
This secret that you do, where you always have 3x5 cards in your purse, I have to say, Harlequin, this is why I asked you to come on the call when I saw this a few months back, right? That you really understood that you, at the booths, let's say a table, when it's out in the public, you're set up. I didn't know that you carried them in your purse all the time.
Yes,
but this basic thing of simple 3x5 cards on a clipboard, so it's really convenient for people to give you their contact info. And I just was so impressed, because that's such a basic thing, but are we doing it? And you do it, right? You've got these 3x5 cards all the time. And I just think it's so important for people to understand, to be prepared, right? It's not rocket science, but be prepared.
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say, approaching somebody while you're standing in line or, living your life, basically, it can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge, but it's good practice.
Right.
What I also tend to do is I network in a lot of like business associations or chamber events and networking events. If you go online, you can look up, sometimes it's the city, the state, or your local county, or even a town near you that has a business association. In the area that I live in, I think there's like 15 of them. Between those different groups, I mean, we've got an East Cobb County, we've got a West Cobb County, and then like 5 cities in that county all have a business association. And they have, networking events. Sometimes it can get a little bit pricey if you go and join all of them, but they'll usually let you come and attend a couple of events for free to check it out and see which one fits best with you.
So what's the secret there when you're going to one of these, you haven't paid yet, you're the new one arriving to the meeting. How do you get to them filling out your 3x5 card?
Well, one of the reasons why I go to the business association meetings is everyone that's there is there with the intent of meeting new people that are potential business partners for them or customers for them. And they know that everybody else is there coming to go and meet people and get new business, partners or customers. So everyone that's there has the same intention of going and meeting new people and getting contacts. So business associations are an excellent source because most of them are small business owners, so they get having to go out and build your own business from the ground up. A lot of them also understand how difficult it can be if you're starting a business on your own versus a network marketing company where you have a lot of the support and you're not having to manufacture and source the product, and you already have it there, and our main focus is selling the product and finding new distribution sources, basically.
So that's really kind of just like Mary was saying, think of, is this the next person that you're going to grow with? But I'm really hearing that as it's kind of this diamond of, these are business owners, and if they're hearing about, they don't have to have the overhead, do the deliveries, do, all of this. It's just simply marketing, and they're already out there networking. So it's something they're comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of them may be people who are, a lot of times you're going to find chiropractors and, people in the wellness industry that are networking to go and find new clients. Chiropractors, they can sell the product in their practice. So they're a great resource. Massage therapists, all different types of industries, they go to those events trying to find new clients. And we have, in most cases, our clients may be the same people. So we can both market to the same people. And since we're both marketing, we're reaching double the numbers.
Right. So what I know is that with you is that you do focus on business owners. And I'm going to bring it back to the experience of this past weekend at the expo, that it was open to thousands who came through, but they weren't necessarily a demographic that was drawn to the iGalen message, let's say. So you actually, got your leads from the other vendors, right? You made connections with the other
Yeah.
business owners. You want to talk more
Yeah.
about that?
A lot of times whenever I go to different events where I have a booth, I will always try and meet the other vendors there, because again, we're all trying to reach the same type of client base. And while I was there, I met someone who has a med spa
Mm-hmm.
that she's very interested in adding her product into her practice. Another person was a cosmetologist and hairdresser. Again, same thing, adding another product to her product line. And one of my team members went out and there was someone who had hyperbaric chambers. So he went and talked to him. But a lot of times whenever you're at an event, those other vendors are also, they're just like us. They're a small business. They're trying to build their business. And a lot of them have a type of business where our product would be a wonderful addition to what they're already offering, or they may not be very happy with where they are.
Right. So that's where you kind of stay with them in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's because what I heard a little bit from some of these leads that you connected with, is you didn't start with the business. You started with how the product could help them with their health.
Right.
Yeah. And then you're letting it evolve.
Right.
And
the other thing is, just in general, as far as how I normally go about trying to find events to go to, there's a lot of different source or resources for that. You can go onto Facebook, and I know here in Georgia, there's probably 5 or 10 different Facebook groups where it's Georgia vendor events. So it's people who go in there and they are running events and they're looking for vendors, or it's vendors looking for events to go to. So that's a great resource. The one thing that I will tell you is make sure you vet the person that you sign up with.
And what do you mean by that?
There are a lot of scam artists out there that are like, oh, I'm going to have this big, huge event, and we're expecting 5,000 people, and we're charging $500 for the booth, and they collect your money and they never had the event scheduled.
Okay.
Take off with your money.
Okay. So yeah.
So that does happen a lot on those Facebook groups. Usually it'll happen once, maybe twice, and they will be kicked off the group. But then they'll go to the next group and they'll do the same thing, and they'll change their name on there or something like that. So make sure that you get references from some people for that person. And usually it's best if you can go to one of their events before you sign up.
Right. Okay. All right.
I
just happened to see the time, and
okay.
so I'm realizing I have to keep this moving. So that's a really good point. It's like what I'm hearing from you is extend yourself naturally and keep moving, keep networking, find the groups to go to, both in person, now online. You can find other groups, and be wise about how you build those relationships as far as moving forward. Any last tip before we move on?
Yeah, well, a couple of other places to look is Eventbrite. They have a lot of different events going on, but health fairs. There are some groups that go and run health fairs at different businesses, especially in the bigger cities. So anyways, you can try and do that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Harlequin.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to read Maureen's just because it's directly to you. And she writes,
I saw it pop up. I couldn't read it all.
I have had a very difficult time connecting with pharmacies, chiropractors, health food stores. They do not seem interested at all. I don't know what I'm doing wrong when I hear the other distributors are connecting with business owners, and yet I am not. One told me that it was having to train their staff on the products. What would you suggest? Do you have any suggestion for Maureen to just...
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question, Maureen. On the pharmacies, I wouldn't go after them.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are more into the drugs than the natural health supplements. But if they say that they don't want to have to train the staff, offer to do it for them.
Uh-huh. Okay. So when they're bringing up objections, really hear them and then play with what solutions you could be offering.
Right.
For them. Mm-hmm.
And what you may want to do too is bring in somebody with you that may have a little bit more experience with it. I don't know how much experience she has working with that in that industry,
Mm-hmm.
but if you know somebody who is in that industry that or has worked with people in that industry, you can bring them along with you, or do a 3-way call with your upline who might have a little bit more experience in that arena. It's going to the chiropractors and that type of group. The health food stores can be a little bit difficult because they've got so many products.
Right.
But like a chiropractor or a naturopath, you have to know your product and you have to be able to answer the difficult questions, and they're going to want to see a lot of the detail, like the medical studies and things like that, and they are going to research it like crazy before they start to offer it to their clients.
Yeah, that's a really good point, is to be prepared to network, like you're saying, know that you see what other support you can have, but to make sure that information, you're going to be able to leave how they can get all of that information that's so important to them. Because right. I know Ken Pepperdine mentions that about, if he's a chiropractor and somebody approaches him, don't just tell them a couple of testimonies. Give them where the white papers are and where the clinical studies have been. And The
other thing is to schedule an appointment with them. Don't just try and walk in off the street and expect to spend time talking to them.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. We're going to move on because we want to also have Mary Beth come on. Thank you, Harlequin. Mary Beth Brenner Jaeger, welcome. You also come from this just very experienced background as a business owner, as owning more than one salon at a time, doing manuals for salon owners and marketing those manuals. So you really have an understanding of breaking it down into the tasks, into the roles, what stylists are understanding. And then you're out there, Mary Beth, with these booths, these tables in your community. So I really wanted to hear from you because there's so many tips and tricks that you have that you could share with us. But in the actual setting up the display, getting the attention of the people walking by, what can you share with us tonight, Mary Beth?
Well, thank you for having me on, number one, and hello, everybody. One of the things that I started doing, and I have a t-shirt, and probably everybody has seen it, and it says, ask me about magic happy pills. And so
And you have the Ask Me About in the front and then the Magic Happy Pills in the back? No, it's all
I have Asked Me About here and Magic Happy Pills across the front.
all right, Mary Beth. Yeah.
But what it was inviting. It was an inviting thing.
Yeah.
Some people, took exception to the word magic because we don't want to say that these are magic. And I wasn't saying they were magic. People would come up and say, okay, what about those Magic Happy Pills? Even if I walked through the event center, people would stop me and say, what are the Magic Happy Pills?
Uh-huh.
I said, they are the most amazing supplement. I said, with me, they've worked like magic. I said, and they make me very happy. Go to booth 42. I'll be right there and we'll talk about it. But people would, and they'd look at it and they'd smile. But then you can also have a shirt, and it's very easy to have a shirt made. You can have it made by Teespring. You can go to your local place. You could say, ask me why I'm smiling.
Ah, that's a nice
What it does is it invites people to come to you. What are the important things when you're at a booth? If everybody's been through the vendor places and they always give you 2 chairs and they give you a 6 or 8 foot table that you can, display and so many times I see people sitting behind with their head down on their phone while people are walking by. And I want to go up and shake them and say, what are you doing? Why are you here?
And I could see you doing that.
Never sit during a show. I stand during a show. I smile. I put my lipstick on. I look people in the eye. And a lot of times I'd stand there with this.
Ah, look at this. This is a great visual. Which button would you press?
More energy, better sleep, lose weight, less body fat, less inflammation, just feel better. So I would stand there and I'd say, hey, which button would you press? And they'd come over to read it. If you get it too big, they're going to stand back and read it.
Ah, very clever.
So they have to come and, and that's how you can engage, just by standing there. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of graphics that we can use when we set up a booth. What I started and what I suggest if somebody hasn't done a booth, and it's like Harlequin said, go on Facebook. This is where I found many vendor events, the ladies' night out events. If people have, if you've seen those, perfect place to do it. They'll have ladies' night out. They will have vendor events, which are direct sales and crafters. And it draws in a lot of people. And like Harlequin says, vet them. Go to one of them. See what they're like. I have like 3 in Minneapolis now that I'm back. 3 different vendors that I've worked last fall and last winter that I know are good. I know that they bring in a lot of people. And so that's what you want to be able to do and engage them. When I set up my table, I prefer, and this is my preference, I prefer a black tablecloth. And I'll tell you why. Because it sets off everything else. I went to Walmart one day and they had this extra satin black fabric that was on sale. And I got it for $8 and it actually covers 3 6-foot tables. And it's so wide that I can put display boxes underneath it. So when you have your table and you set back the display boxes, you have a step. So you can I put my laptop on there. And I always have Dr. Aaron's video. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I plug in my headset that goes on the ear, not plugged into the ear, but the big ones, because it's very noisy at an event. But some people want to see it. So I have it continuously playing, and they go, can I hear that? Then they can,
okay.
The kind of the ones that Jackie's wearing, like that, just so they can hear it clearly. That's worked really well for me. As a matter of fact, I had a couple where one had one ear and one had the other ear, and they both listened to it. But, this is important to have. The other thing that I do, I think it's extremely important if you want to get balloons. If you want to have balloons, just a few of them to create eye-catching things. Mm-hmm. Banners are really important. We can get banners very inexpensively. You can go to Vistaprint. I've done foam boards. At Christmas time, I did a foam board, and I had all of these holiday foods. And I said something like, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but it said something like, you won't gain weight this holiday season. Ask me how.
Yeah.
Big foam board, and then all you do is you just get you can go to the dollar store and get one of these little frame things that they sit on.
Mm-hmm.
So it just sat right up on the top of a box, so it's very easy to see. You don't want to have too much on there on your table. You don't want to have it so it's not attractive. You just want to have certain things. So one of the things that I've done, this isn't exactly the book. I love this one, and I framed that and had it on there. And this is one that says 8 ways chronic inflammation can damage your body.
Right.
It's very telling. But when you have a book like this, it's laying there, people can go through it.
Okay, so that's a notebook size that you're showing us,
It's
right?
a notebook.
And then you put each page in a plastic.
And this one actually came with a plastic binder. I don't have my binder that I used at my daughter's where I am right now. So unfortunately, I can't show you. But, we have the presentation. I had the entire presentation there, and people would go through it. But the other things that I
So you're saying you print out the iGalen back office presentations.
Absolutely.
It's about the products, it's about the business, and then they can be flipping through the notebook.
Yes, and usually you're with them, or they
Right.
start flipping. Another thing that's extremely important is testimonials.
Uh-huh.
So I usually have them on a clipboard. I have the professional testimonials that I've gathered from some professional people. I have a Reiki master practitioner. I have a traditional acupuncturist. I have business that Jennifer owns a massage and wellness center. And another one, I have a physician's assistant. So those are
So that really gives a lot of credibility to how they're using the products in their business where, the thing about these kinds of professions, if a product isn't working, their reputation goes down. And that's not okay.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I have is I have customer testimonials. So they go together on a clipboard.
And what size font are they? Just curious.
They're probably about 12 to 14.
14, yeah. I was just wondering if that was something to be, because you want it large enough, right? So people
Absolutely.
can.
So when you do it, you bold it in at least 12 to 14.
Great.
This is another one. So then I have these, and people said, well, how do I know they work? You have a clipboard right there that says, here's the testimonials. These are the professional people, that are with us. And
Right.
These are customer testimonials. They're gold. You can say anything you want about any product, but if you don't have something to back it up, people are not.
Right. So you have third-party validation just
Absolutely.
there completely.
This
So
is
in
another
other
one.
words, what I'm hearing is you're engaging, you're willing to wear the t-shirt, keep your lipstick on, and be in front of your table to be just talking to people. But the displays, as people come in, they're just seeing all of this third-party credibility. It's like that's what you're really showing.
But not too much. That's why I group together, and it's really important. You can have probably 15 testimonial pages, but if you have them spread out over your table, it looks too messy. But if you have it on a clipboard, for instance, you just put it on a clipboard, it's all in one spot where they can leaf through it, or you can leaf through it with them, and it makes it look tidy and pleasing, which is really important. I also use a clipboard. There's another one where they sign up.
Aha. Okay.
So I always have that. And I always have probably 10 or 12 pens because they'll disappear. So I have a little container. another thing that I make sure that I have, product flyers. This is our one from the back office. Go to Vistaprint if you're going to get them printed, and make sure that you have your information on everything that you have.
And is there any key about that information that you think is important? I mean, besides contact information, but which websites do you give?
I give my business webs. Okay, I give my my Ditto Touch. I give my order. I give my email, and I give my Learn More. And my Learn More is my jot form page that I create team and for anybody that likes it, because it talks not only about Emulin, it also talks about Climax. It also talks about the business part of it, but it also gives them a choice, and then that you can gather their information from that jot form page, and I get an email from them and it'll tell me what they want more of also. But it's got everything in that, so it's a good first touch for people.
Right.
So, and my phone number, of course.
Right.
Which is really important. I also have some of the brochures that we have in the back office, like this. They're very pleasing. It talks about their story, the Galen team, and Climax right now. And so I have this on the table. I have one. People will not take just one. If I have somebody very interested, I'll hand them this. This costs more.
Right.
That doesn't mean I don't have it there.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it?
If
you had 10, 15 stacked upon each other, then they would just take them and keep walking, basically.
They do. And they don't equate it to cost, know, and they are costly, and we want to give these to people that we know are really interested. So when we engage,
just curious, do you make sure they leave the contact information before you?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that?
I'll do a drawing.
How do you get people to leave you their contact information? On
one of the here's one that I found. Sign up for a drawing to win a bottle of Emulin Plus. And this was at a small vendor event, and everybody thought, oh, that would be really cool.
Right.
So I did that. There's other, giveaways you can do.
Okay. So you do give an incentive for their contact information, just like we know to do online. No one's going to leave their contact information unless they're getting something free.
Yes.
And so this is in the present, full physical reality. You do the same thing.
I do. And another thing that I did, we all know that people are chocolate lovers.
Ah.
Okay. But we also know, well, I was. I loved milk chocolate. It was ridiculous. Now we know that we can have a little bit. If we've looked at the 9-day reset, you can have a little bit of 77%, dark chocolate with an almond. I would buy big tubs of those at Costco and put them in a dish with a spoon, and people will go, "What's that?" And I go, "This is a little snack that you can still have and still be satisfied. And all you'd have to do when you start taking Emulin, you would have one, and you would be so satisfied with just one," and they can't believe it. But then I would offer them that. It says, yes, you can have a few of those.
Okay, so that's really intriguing to me. So you've got this chocolate there, and of course people are gravitated to chocolate bowl. And it's like, what's that? And you're standing there and you're saying, well, with my product, you're satisfied with just one.
Right.
Can you imagine? I'm willing to give you a couple right now, but being satisfied with just one. I think that's brilliant. You can just do that all day long.
Yes, and when people think diet or changing their diet, they think, oh my God, I'm going to be eating grass the rest of my life. Right? I'm just going to be a cow just eating grass. And it's okay to have a little bit of 77% dark chocolate with an almond. That is not a bad thing to have. Okay. So if you let them know that they're not going to deprive themselves totally, then they'll be more engaging. Because
I
one
like
of the
that.
things I found out, and I'm doing a 9-day reset with customers, as you know, on Facebook right now. And one of the things they said to me is, I want to do this with people. You know, on my own, it's really hard.
Yep.
So every day
True.
for 9 days, they're getting videos, and people are, and so that's what's really important, is these people want to know that you're there for them. And you can convey that through how you interact with people. That's the important thing. They don't want to be just a number or a customer. They want to be cared about. And that's what you have to really
Well, I mean, my experience of you, Mary Beth, is that comes through loud and clear with anybody that is on your team, that you relate to, that you definitely care and definitely want the best for them.
Can I show you one more thing I just did?
Yeah, absolutely.
Walgreens, you can make these little books.
Uh-huh.
So, of course, I don't know if you can see that. That's our...
Yeah, Emulin and Climax is both, okay.
And we have our Dr. Joe and his information. We talk about the perpetual sugar, the inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody is standing there, they can thumb through. Here's Emulin E. Here's fat me, and here's thinner me.
Well, you know, that's pretty
Show your
convincing,
story.
right? Because there you are, yeah.
And there I am with that shirt on.
More experience. So, I mean, there's the authentic being yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Before and after pictures.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
With the contact things. Dr. Stefano.
Right.
Going into hair loss right there. That's going to be one of the bigger ones. And when I do start up my shows again, this is going to be one of the first things that are going to be on there.
Right. And we know that Mary and Harlequin used that in their booth this last weekend.
These are beautiful pictures to be able to, and you know, people share so many of their pictures. It is so important to, you know, get as many of those as you can to show exactly the power of this product, because this product is more powerful than anything that's out there. And it's our job to be able to convey what it's done. So yes, share your story, but engage them and find out what their challenges are.
Yeah.
That's so important. And listen to their challenges and say, yes, I think I can help you.
Uh-huh. Fantastic, Mary Beth. So my question is, because I know you found this black cloth at Walmart, but is there a key why you're saying to use black?
It shows everything brighter.
Okay.
The white is whiter. The colors are more colored. When you have, like, I've done a picture of, and I have this up on there too, it sets that off. So black will set off so many different colors.
Okay.
When you have your primary colors, it may take away from the things on your table. When you use black, it complements what's on your table. That's what I prefer to do in all the shows I've done in the beauty industry, and now, you know, this again, it just sets off. And when I look around, because one of the things I think Harlequin and Mary were saying is, I talk to every vendor there, and that's how I've gotten a few teammates. But I look at the other vendors, I look how their displays are, and you know, you look at one and you'll say, why do you have that paisley tablecloth there? Because it takes away from everything that's on your table. It's too busy. It's too, you know. So it's aesthetically, we all have our own aesthetics. So, you know, it's really
well, I was guilty of that when I did a booth. Because I like my colors and I have lots of colorful cloths. So I appreciate understanding that about the black. And I always think about how jewelers always use black, right?
That's
to
why.
Bring out the beauty of the jewelry. Yeah.
Yes, and keep it organized. Keep it organized and succinct, and stand there and smile.
And I mean, that's what you are so good at, keeping it organized, keeping it succinct. right? Yeah.
It's so important. It's so important because it flows.
Yeah.
And people will say, wow, this makes sense, you know, and you need an orderliness about it so that otherwise people will come up and they'll be too confused. Where do I look first? So make sure you're telling a story. And the other thing, when you bring your product to a show, you get as many empty bottles as possible. That's what you're going to display. Put your real product underneath the table, back by you, because people will swipe it, and it'll be that easy for it to go. But borrow them from other people that are not doing it. Make sure you have enough, but don't litter. What I would do is I would put like Dr. Aaron's picture up, and then I would have like 2 Emulin E, and then I have another one with Dr. Stefano, and then I would have the Climax right there. And then that's pretty much what you need on the table. You don't need 17, 18 bottles. It's too much. Little goes a long way. So make sure your displays are clear and crisp.
Thank you, Mary Beth. I mean, these are the kinds of tips that are so important. I mean, so valuable. And I just so appreciate you being willing to share them. And as you can see, they just roll off of you because you got a lot of experience doing this and you know what works. So thank you.
Well, thank
you, Mary Beth. Really,
I hope I helped.
Yeah, I'm just so happy about having all 3 of you come on tonight and talk about the nuts and bolts. I mean, you know, and really what I'm hearing, I mean, just to kind of bring it into, you know, the context, it's like, okay, we've got to show up, we've got to be present, we've got to be authentic, and understand that our job is to be inviting. And, you know, Harlequin's point of, and, you know, network, get to these groups, get out there, do it, and let it evolve in this way that you're really finding the places to go. And what you're saying is, and then have the display that is not cumbersome, that is clean, but it's all about the validation. If they want to hold a bottle, they can. They've got, you know, put it in the hand, but like that book, that flipping that book, I would imagine people standing there, it would just start conversations, right? I mean,
it does. And when you ask them a question, they'll go, well, what about this? You just flip it right open. So you're not fumbling through so many papers.
Right.
You find such nice presentation, you know, books like that at Staples, online. You can find those, and it's worth the investment to do that and have those sleeves because you can change it at any time. But right. You can have the presentation first. You can have the testimonial second. You can have, you know, some of the pictures, you know, many of the other, you know, and what I do is I also have the business part of it. So I can flip right up when they're asking me questions. It's right there. It's very important, but it's all in one pack. So it's easy.
And the chocolate almonds, I mean, I'm ready for you to give me a couple. I only need one. I took my Emulin today. I know, I just think it's that is just fantastic. Yeah.
I have to tell you, there's people only took one. Because I would tell them, you can eat one and not feel guilty. And I would have a spoon there for them to dip in and do it. And they would only take one. And I was just like, you know, this really amazes me. I think they take more. Right. But what it said to them was, I still can have something like that, even though it's a little bit healthier, you know, than milk chocolate. And it's got an almond, but I can still have a little treat and I'm going to be okay.
Well, you know, what that's reminding me of too, and I'm just going to share this because it's something that I was taught years ago. If you feed people, they remember you. There's a loyalty. There's just something about, I mean, these chocolate almonds, I mean, yes, they're just taking one, but they remember where your booth is. Yes, they remember, you know, there's something just about the whole emotional connection, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all this way.
But so even in the 9-day reset, it says you can have a small amount of very dark chocolate. And that's what this was, 77% dark chocolate with
I
an ounce.
just love that. I love it. Wow. Okay.
All
So, what I'm seeing is that everybody's really, really appreciative of the information, and but nobody's got specific questions right now. And okay. So we don't have more questions. We've gone over time. I guess we'll come into completion now. And I mean, like I said, these tips, these things that all three of you do, just because you've got so much experience, are what we need to hear. People need to know how to take the steps. So thank you, all three of you, Mary Duffy, Harlequin Murray, Mary Beth Jaeger. Thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for your willingness to come and share so openly. I know Harlequin's made herself available if people want to be contacting her directly. I know all of your hearts are in the right place. So let's just put these applications right into the marketplace. Let's start making our own books and putting together, finding the places to go to network with people with these useful tools. So with that said, I'm going to call this a wrap for our lovely June 6th Wednesday call. And thank you all. I'm just, my heart's full. I hope people just really felt they received a lot. And yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a beautiful
you.
night.
Thank
And
you very
leave
much.
us, leave messages about what you got from it. That would be great on the Facebook post. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Mary.
Bye.
Nice to see you all.
Yay.
Bye.
Woo! Okay. Bye for now.
Godspeed.
Yeah. Thank you.
You bet. Love you, Fawn. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.